I never expected my homecoming to feel like a hotel check-in. But here I was, suitcase in hand, greeted with fake smiles and a request to sleep in the basement like some second-rate guest. Let me back up. My name is Remy. I left my small town years ago with nothing but ambition, 2 duffel bags, and a scholarship. I built a life in the city, one with polished floors, business cards, and a name people knew. I didn't visit much. Not because I didn't care, but because I never really felt wanted. Still, when Mom called to say Grandma's birthday was coming up and there'd be a big family gathering at the house, I said yes. Not because I missed them, but because something in her voice sounded off. Hesitant. Like she expected me to decline. I decided to surprise them and show up 2 days early. Huge mistake. The house hadn't changed a bit. Same dusty porch swing, same overgrown hedges. But when I rang the doorbell, it was my younger cousin Sky who answered, not my parents. She blinked twice before calling out, Aunt Melanie? Remy's here. From behind her, my mother appeared. She wore her hair the way she always did for events. Tight bun, too much hairspray. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Oh, you came early, she said. No hug. No warmth. Just a quick glance over my shoulder, like she hoped someone more interesting would step out of the Uber. Dad wandered in next. He looked confused, then mildly irritated. They weren't expecting you till Friday, Sky whispered. Apparently. I set my bag down in the foyer. Where should I put my things? Dad cleared his throat. Well, the upstairs rooms are, full. Everyone's already picked a space. But we set up the basement for you. It's cozy. Cozy. Right. The basement was where we kept old furniture, Christmas ornaments, and boxes labeled Remy's junk. It was barely heated. One tiny window. And spiders. I wasn't allergic to dust, but I was allergic to being treated like an afterthought. I smiled thinly. Lovely. Basement it is. They led me down the creaky stairs, past peeling paint and a broken treadmill. Someone had dragged in a twin mattress and tossed a blanket on top like that would disguise the cement walls. Do you need help bringing your things down? Mom asked, already halfway up the stairs. No. I've got it. Once alone, I stood in the middle of the room and let the silence settle. I hadn't even taken my coat off, and yet it was all so familiar. The casual rejection, the way they prioritized everyone else. I was used to being treated like a footnote. But this time something snapped. I wasn't the same Remy who used to beg for a seat at their table. I own my own business now. I booked international flights like others ordered takeout. And most importantly, I had options. I pulled out my phone. Opened the hotel booking app. Just for curiosity's sake, I typed in the name of the nearest luxury inn. 5-star. Recently renovated. Heated floors. 10 minutes from my parents' house. I clicked reserve all rooms. Every single one. Every suite, every double, every single. For the entire weekend. Just like that. Why? Because I had a plan. I didn't need revenge right away. No, I'd wait. Let them keep underestimating me. Let them stuff me in basements and pretend I was invisible. But come Saturday, during Grandma's birthday with all eyes on the family, I'd flip the script. Back upstairs. Dinner was a crowded mess. Cousins and uncles. People I hadn't seen in years. The seating was tight, but there was magically no space for me. I ate standing up by the kitchen island while Mom chatted about how wonderful it was to have everyone under one roof. Everyone, apparently, but me. I tried to be civil. I really did. I listened to my sister Megan brag about her latest yoga retreat. I smiled while Sky showed off her glittery engagement ring. But when Megan glanced at me and said, "So, Remy, still doing that little city thing?" I nearly choked on my wine. Still running my company? Yeah, I replied smoothly. Things are going well. Oh, right. Marketing or something, she said like I ran a lemonade stand. I could have corrected her. I could have mentioned the celebrity client list or the Forbes feature. But what was the point? Let them think I sold candles. It would make Saturday even better. As the evening wore on, more guests arrived. Most were given rooms upstairs. The guest list had ballooned from just family to some kind of unofficial reunion. But somehow, Nobody thought to save a real bed for the person who had RSVP'd first. Dad tried to act like the basement was some quirky Airbnb. Hey, you've got privacy down there. No snoring relatives. Sure. And rats for roommates. I played the part. Smiled. Helped with dishes. Pretended not to notice when they handed out breakfast room assignments and I wasn't on the chart. Instead, I spent the night in the basement listening to the creak of pipes and the thud of footsteps above me. Around 2 a.m., I checked my phone. A confirmation email had come in. All 10 rooms booked. Friday through Sunday. Perfect. The next morning, I ran errands. In reality, I checked into the hotel. Told the concierge I'd be expecting guests Saturday night. VIP check-ins only. No walk-ins allowed. Then I returned to my parents' house like nothing had changed. By Friday night, tension was thick. More relatives had arrived, and sleeping arrangements were now a game of musical chairs. I overheard Megan arguing with Sky about who would get the room with the private bathroom. Remy can't have that one, someone said. She's in the basement anyway. I sipped my coffee and stayed quiet. When Grandma finally arrived, glowing and beaming with excitement, everyone fussed over her like she was royalty. She hugged me tightly, bless her heart, and said, "Remy, you came all this way. That means the world to me." I smiled. "Of course, Grandma. I wouldn't miss it." Mom leaned in. "We told her you'd be staying here all weekend." "Oh, I am," I replied smoothly. "Sort of." Saturday morning came fast. The house was chaos. Hairdryers whirred. Dresses were steamed. Someone burned the bacon. But I was calm. Because tonight, everything would change. Saturday morning felt like a storm gathering. The entire house was buzzing. Ants fluttered through the kitchen in robes and curlers. Cousins fought over charging cables, and Dad barked orders about parking. Every spare corner was crammed with shoes, suitcases, and folding chairs. And me? I sipped my coffee in silence. No one asked how I slept. No one offered me a better room. Apparently, they assumed I'd accepted my role in the basement, like some voluntary Cinderella. But today, they'd learn exactly how wrong they were. By noon, I'd snuck away to the hotel. A brief moment of peace. The manager greeted me with a smile. "Miss Remy, all rooms are ready. We've placed your name on every reservation, just as you requested." "Perfect." "And the sign out front." He nodded. "Posted this morning. Fully booked for private event. No vacancies. Just like you asked." I thanked him, walked through the polished marble lobby, and admired the irony. They'd left me in the basement. I now controlled the entire top floor of the nicest hotel in town. I didn't need to scream or start a fight. I just needed to wait. Their mess would come find me. Back at the house, people were scrambling. Grandma's birthday dinner was planned for 6. By 3, the chaos was in full bloom. Hair dryers, arguments, doors slamming. Megan was furious her dress got wrinkled. Uncle Henry had brought a +1 no one expected. And the guest rooms? Overbooked. "We may need to send a few people to a hotel," I heard Dad grumble. "Not enough beds." Sky panicked. "But the wedding crowd's in town too. Everything's probably booked." I sipped water. "That's rough." By 5, the panic was official. Dad came to me in the kitchen, fake calm written all over his face. "Hey, Remy. Quick question. Do you still have that place in the city?" I tilted my head. "Sure. Why? Do you think maybe you could, head back tonight? Just for tonight? We've got a couple unexpected arrivals and the basement might be a little tight." The audacity. I gave a tight-lipped smile. "Oh, I actually moved out of that place. But I'll be fine." I could practically see him calculating. Who could he displace? Me? His own daughter? Again? Before he could respond, Megan burst in. "Someone better figure this out. I'm not sleeping in the laundry room." "Well, Remy's got a whole basement to herself," Sky snapped. That's when I decided to twist the knife. Just a little. I stood, dusted off my jeans, and said, "Actually, I won't be sleeping here tonight." Everyone turned. "Wait, what?" Dad asked. "I've got a suite booked," I said casually. "Over at the Grand Bell." Mom blinked. "You're staying there?" "Yep. Figured I'd treat myself." Heated floors. Rain shower. Real pillows. Grown-up things. The Grand Bell was the crown jewel of our town. Everyone wanted to stay there during weddings, reunions, galas. But there were only 10 rooms, and they were booked months in advance. Or, in this case, by me. 2 days ago. Megan scoffed. They don't have availability this weekend. I checked. I shrugged. They do for me. Mom suddenly had a new idea. Oh, Remy, sweetie, if you're not using all the space in your suite, maybe 1 or 2 of your cousins could bunk with you. Just for tonight. Oh, there it was. The pivot. From forgotten daughter to helpful cousin with extra space. I smiled. Unfortunately, all the rooms are occupied. Dad furrowed his brow. But you said you had a suite. I do, I replied. And I also booked the other 9 rooms. The whole hotel, actually. Reserved it under my name. Silence. Thick, delicious silence. Megan's jaw dropped. Why would you do that? I tilted my head. Well, after being assigned the basement, I figured it was only fair I got to pick my accommodations. You picked upstairs. I picked elsewhere. Mom looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Remy, that's unreasonable. I leaned forward slightly. Is it? I mean, you filled the entire upstairs without me. Told me to sleep in a storage closet with a mattress. I didn't complain. I just made arrangements. Sky stammered. But we thought you wouldn't care. You're always so independent. Independent doesn't mean invisible. Dad rubbed his temples. This isn't helping, Remy. I raised an eyebrow. I'm not here to help. I'm here to celebrate Grandma's birthday. Just like everyone else. Grandma, by the way, was loving this. She sat at the head of the table later that evening, proudly wearing her birthday sash, chuckling every time someone mentioned the hotel. Remy always did know how to plan ahead, she said with a wink. The rest of dinner was a passive-aggressive disaster. Everyone tried to pretend things were fine. Megan drank too much wine. Dad told the same story twice. Mom nervously carved the roast chicken like it owed her money. But I was calm. Because now they had to figure out who would sleep on the floor. Or in a car. Or not at all. By dessert, the whispers had started. They say even the lobby's closed. Some of the guests are getting turned away. Who books the entire Grand Bell? They looked at me like I had grown horns. After dinner, Mom pulled me aside. This isn't the time for stunts. I looked her dead in the eye. Neither was assigning me to the basement. She blinked. It wasn't personal. It always is. I left the house shortly after. Got in my rental. Drove the 10 minutes to the Grand Bell. The staff opened the door like I was royalty. My suite overlooked the lake. The bed was plush. There was silence. Finally, around midnight, I got a text from Sky. Is there any chance you can squeeze me in? I let the message sit. Then I replied. Sorry. Fully booked. The next morning, I woke up wrapped in hotel-grade sheets, with birds chirping outside and the faint smell of lavender drifting in from the hallway diffuser. A far cry from cement walls and spiderwebs. I stretched slowly, deliberately, knowing that just a few blocks away, my parents' house was in full-blown crisis mode. I ordered room service. Pancakes. Fresh fruit. Coffee strong enough to revive the dead. While I ate, I scrolled through social media. Sky had posted a cryptic story. Some people have no heart. I smiled. My heart was just fine. It had simply stopped being available on demand. Around 10 a.m., I received a call from the front desk. There's a man here insisting he's your father, the concierge said with polite disapproval. I sighed. You can send him up. A few minutes later, there was a knock. I opened the door to see my dad standing there, wearing yesterday's button-down and the same desperate expression I remembered from childhood, when things didn't go his way. Remy, he said, walking past me without waiting for an invitation. Sure. Come in. He looked around the suite, taking in the velvet chaise lounge, the glass balcony doors, the espresso machine. This is a bit much, don't you think? I crossed my arms. Compared to a basement mattress? He turned. All right. I get it. You're mad. No. I'm awake. There's a difference. He exhaled hard, the kind of breath men use when they think their daughter is being difficult again. Look, your mother is upset. Sky is upset. Megan's furious. You really blindsided everyone. I poured myself more coffee. You're saying I'm the problem for not sleeping in a dungeon? You could have spoken to us about it. I did. I asked where to put my things. You said basement with a smile. You didn't even blink. He paused. We were overwhelmed. Too many people. Too little space. Exactly why I booked my own space. And all the rest for good measure. Was that necessary? Was it necessary to assign me the one room without windows? Or act like I was just passing through instead of your daughter? He didn't respond. He looked at the floor, then back up. Look. The hotel thing, you made your point. Loud and clear. But it's Grandma's big dinner tonight. Everyone's coming. Can we just move past this? I stared at him. You want me to show up, smile for pictures, pretend everything is fine? It would mean a lot. To whom? You? Or to the illusion that we're some perfect, united family who didn't shove one of their own into a basement. That one landed. He rubbed the back of his neck. Look, you've always been independent. You never needed us. You were always out there, doing your own thing. Don't confuse independence with not caring. I called. I visited. You just didn't notice unless I was useful. He sat on the edge of the couch, suddenly tired. You're right, he said quietly. We took you for granted. Silence stretched between us. It was the first honest thing he'd said in years. Finally, I spoke. I'll come tonight. But I'm not doing the dance. I'm not playing the role of grateful outcast. If I show up, I'm showing up as who I am, not as who you pretend I should be. He nodded. Understood. As he left, he paused in the doorway. You really booked the entire hotel? I smiled. Every room. He chuckled once bitterly. Your mother's still trying to figure out if that's even legal. Tell her to call the front desk. That evening, I arrived at the dinner wearing a simple black dress and quiet confidence. The dining hall was decorated to the nines. White linens, candles, printed name cards. Grandma sat at the head of the table in a crown that said 80 and excellent. The room hushed when I walked in. Remy, the forgotten one. Remy, the afterthought. Remy, the woman who held the keys to their comfort, and politely said no. I kissed Grandma on the cheek. Happy birthday. She beamed. You look stunning. Thanks. Must be all that sleep from the 5-star mattress. The cousins exchanged awkward glances. Megan faked a smile and asked if I wanted a drink. I declined. We sat. We ate. The wine flowed. Someone gave a speech. Then Grandma cleared her throat. I'd like to say something. Everyone quieted. Grandma didn't need a microphone. Her voice was small, but her presence commanded silence. She looked around the room slowly. I've seen a lot in 80 years. Wars. Weddings. Windows 95. But the one thing that never changes is how family treats each other when they think no one's watching. A few heads lowered. She continued, This weekend reminded me of something. Respect is not about age, or tradition, or birth order. It's about effort. About how we show up for people. Especially when it's inconvenient. She turned to me and held my hand. Remy, thank you for showing up. Thank you for standing your ground. I'm proud of you. I squeezed her hand back. Thank you, Grandma. And that was it. No dramatic fight. No big reveal. Just a quiet, public acknowledgement that shook the table harder than any tantrum could. The rest of the night, people were unusually polite. Megan complimented my necklace. Sky offered to refill my water. My parents watched from a distance, unsure of what to say. Let them sit with it. Later, as people trickled out, I heard one of the cousins say she didn't raise her voice once. And yet, she owned the room, another whispered. That night, I returned to my hotel. As I stepped into the lobby, the night manager greeted me. Miss Remy, everything all right at home? I laughed. Better now. He handed me a note. Someone dropped this off for you. No name. I opened it in the elevator. A single line, handwritten in neat cursive. Sometimes the basement is where gold is stored before it shines. I smiled. Grandma's handwriting. When I reached my suite, I stood by the window, watching the sleepy town below. They'd put me in the basement, I ended the weekend in the penthouse. And I didn't need to slam a door, scream, or seek revenge to get there. I just needed to remember who I was. And book every room upstairs.